Now, KwaZulu-Natal still reeling from devastating thunderstorms with more wet weather predicted for the province. Weather Service has issued a level 2 warning for disruptive rains. The higher than average rainfall in the country has been brought about by a weather phenomenon called La Nina. And geologists, weather people and scientists are warning that strong tropical cyclones could well hit KwaZulu-Natal in future. Well, let's go there now and speak to the UKZN's Marine Geology Research Unit Head. That's a very long title for an afternoon. Professor Andrew Green, thank you very much for your time, Prof. Just the other day, I think it was yesterday, I spoke to one of your peers at WITS, Professor Francois Engelbrecht, just looking ahead at climate change, the impact in 2022, but particularly now, we are in the season now of the cyclone season, which lasts us to about March, April, and I was just wondering, should we expect more severe cyclones? I mean, was it about 2019 or so when Cyclone Idai almost destroyed the city of Beira, Mozambique's second largest city?
Yes, exactly. Your pronunciation is fantastic, by the way. So Beira experienced quite a severe tropical cyclone. That was 2019. And I mean, it was very unfortunate. That is the kind of thing that does make landfall in those parts of the subtropics. But most of the tropical cyclones that we are experiencing usually are just sort of the remnants or small tails of these things down here as far south as Durban. However, the work that we've done points to the idea that we should be experiencing more severe and probably more frequent tropical cyclones in the future. So it's one of those things, we can't say when exactly, but we certainly know that in the future it's coming. And something I would imagine far more severe than what played itself out with Cyclone Idai.
Yeah, could it come, could we see, I know it's difficult, you're not a weather forecast, but from the information you have, the research that you do, could we see some of that happening? Because, I mean, we are already in the middle of a cyclone. Thankfully, until now, since the current cyclone season began, we haven't seen any of those major tropical storms.
So it's interesting. A lot of people have asked, you know, like, what will we see? What are our timelines? How will we predict what's going to happen? And it's very difficult from taking a geological perspective, which is usually operating on the thousands of year brackets, and then trying to translate that down into what we experience in terms of maybe 100 years in terms of lifetime brackets. But what we showed was essentially that there's these strongly formed deposits that are related to tropical cyclones, but big tropical cyclones, and that these things formed when we had very warm sea surface temperatures about 5,000 to 7,000 years ago. And we know full well that sea surface temperature is warming. And as that warms, we can expect more and more tropical cyclones to make their way down the Mozambique Channel and to start making landfall in South Africa, as opposed to Mozambique. With that, of course, comes exactly what you're seeing now, lots of rain, in particular, lots of storm waves. So our coastal infrastructure is something that might well be threatened. Exactly when, as I said, it's hard to say. We may not see it in our lifetimes, but as a betting man, I'd say probably yes.
Yeah, because the severity or the intensity of Cyclone Idai was like, I don't know, not seen ever before in this part of Africa, at least from what you scientists have told us. And the path was just over Beira and then across into the northeastern parts of South Africa, and it dumped so much rain all the way to Botswana, I recall. So could KwaZulu-Natal, or should KwaZulu-Natal brace itself to be directly hit by a tropical storm?
You know, I think, again, we're looking at probability here. And it's somewhat difficult to say now in our lifetimes, yes, but certainly in the next 1,000 years, if we're still here and the asteroid hasn't come to claim us, I completely agree that we should be bracing ourselves. Besides the fact that, you know, even if we ignore tropical cyclones, we have rising sea levels, we have an increased warming ocean, which makes even just normal storms that much more intense, big waves coming, that sort of thing. Our coastal communities should be bracing themselves, and our coastal planners should be expecting this. Whether it be from enormous tropical cyclones, maybe not as large as the ones that we've shown, those might only occur on a sort of 1,000-year scale, but I can completely agree with the fact that we should be planning. If you are an environmental manager, you plan for the worst and you hope for the best. That's called the precautionary principle.
Yeah,
And
especially if you are on the coast, particularly in this case, we're talking about KwaZulu-Natal.
Absolutely. I mean, you think of our coastal infrastructure, some of the richest, most well-off areas, as well as some of the poorest areas are located along our coast. And large waves and coastal infrastructure damage doesn't discriminate between wealth, or the wealth gap. So we can expect, certainly within our lifetimes, storms to ravage the coastline as they have done in the past. We had a very big storm in March 2007. It was a 1 in 70-year storm. And we can expect certainly another one of those in the future. And that was devastating, both to the coastal infrastructure and to the economy. So whether it be fostered from a tropical cyclone or some other form of storm, we know it's coming and we need to plan ahead accordingly.